desert, for I walk in this world.
Everyone needs compassion, a love that's never failing. Let mercy fall on me. Everyone needs forgiveness, the kindness of a Savior, the hope of nations. Savior, he can move the mountains. My God is mighty to save. He is mighty to save forever. Author of salvation. He rose and conquered the grave. Jesus conquered the grave. So take me as you find me, with all my fears and failures. Feel my life again. I give my life to follow everything I believe in. Now I surrender. Savior, he can move the mountains. My God is mighty to save. He is mighty to save forever. Author of salvation, he rose and conquered the grave. Jesus conquered the grave. Well, good morning. It is Tuesday morning. Big day today. Hope that you have been blessed so far this week. Hope that you're having a great day so far today. Who are the kindest people that you know? Think about that for a minute. Isn't being in their presence a wonderful thing? It's a breath of fresh air. It's like sitting in the sunshine. It's warm when we are around kind people. Kind people make us feel better. They make us glad to be alive and enjoy life. They help us to see, beyond the fog of worry and discontent and things like that. In Proverbs 12:25 says, anxiety weighs down the heart, but a kind word cheers it up. And that's why it's so nice to be around kind people, genuine kind people, because they just genuinely cheer you up even when you're having a rough day. Jesus' commandment to us to love one another as I have loved you in John chapter 13, verse 34, it was an instruction to be kind, to always and always be kind to everyone. Be kind. And Jesus, himself exemplified kindness when he healed the sick, and as he poured himself out to crowds that gathered to be in his presence, to touch him even, or to hear him speak. He exhibited kindness. We have to remember that he was God in the flesh, so he was human, and so you have to imagine that doing that day in and day out, it had to have been exhausting at times for Jesus, and so. What we read in scriptures, it says, yet very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, he left the house, and he went off to a solitary place where he prayed. That was in Mark chapter 1, verse 35. He replenished his strength with prayer and with solitude in order to be around people as much as he was, and to demonstrate and show kindness. And we can do the same thing. And that's what we're called to do as Christians, is to be kind, and we have to do those things that strengthen us and replenish us, and so that we can continue to give of ourselves in kindness. And what does living a life of kindness mean? What does that look like exactly? It means curbing our impulse to speak sharply when sometimes it might be our tendency or our feeling to do so in the moment. It means that we should be praying every day, just like Jesus did. And we need to be praying a prayer similar to the Psalm. In Psalm 19, verse 14 says, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. So we need to be praying about showing kindness in our words and in our actions. And if a harsh word does happen to escape us in a moment of stress, or in a moment of frustration, then kindness should motivate us to make a sincere apology whenever that is warranted. Kindness also means telling the hard but necessary truths sometimes in a way that that builds the recipient up rather than tears them down. Now, we do read that Jesus, would call the Pharisees brutal vipers and hypocrites, but the fact is he is God and had the godlike right to judge those people. But we have to be careful and not presume to have that kind of power, because when we do that, we will often be wrong in our assessment. And so it's better for us to work at showing kindness. And so we need to live our lives being kindly affectionate to one another, according to Paul's writing in Romans chapter 12, verse 10. Now, sometimes kindness even means, shading the stark truth in a kinder way. You're looking much better. Something we might say to a friend that's going through a hard time, and is kind of showing that, telling, we need to tell people that we believe in them when they're struggling, struggling to get their feet back under them, maybe after, losing a job or something like that, and just letting them know that we care and that we believe that better things are ahead for them. And so when we do that and we show that kind of kindness, it's a way of also bearing one another's burdens. And when we do that, we fulfill the law of Christ. That's Galatians chapter 6, verse 2. Kindness also means sometimes, well, all the time, refraining from complaining and gossiping. Refraining from saying those things that would be hurtful to other people. It also means letting the other driver go first sometimes at the intersection, or putting your cart into the cart corral at the grocery store rather than just leaving it in the next parking space where you were parked. It means sending a note or a card, making a hospital visit, bringing a meal to somebody that needs a meal. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that we can just show simple kindnesses each and every day, and certainly in the words that we use and the looks that we give when we pass each other day to day are ways of showing kindness. It also means giving to those in need when we can. It means being patient with those people who try our patience, and it means forgiving with no strings attached. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as Christ forgave you. That's Ephesians chapter 4, verse 32. So true kindness, it means being gentle in our inner and private thoughts, catching ourselves forming critical or negative judgments, and nipping those things in the bud before we act on them or before we speak them in any way. And a surefire way to do that is to turn a negative thought into a prayer for that person. Now think about that for a minute. That's kind of an interesting thought. We have a negative thought about that person, about something they did, something they said, something that they maybe that they believe in that we disagree with. Instead of harboring that negative thought or mulling that negative thought, what if we just in that moment take that negative thought and turn it into a prayer for that person? And we just pray for them and pray for their heart and their mind and their thoughts and things. It might change the way that we approach people quite a bit. The Apostle James encourages us as Christian brothers and sisters to pray for one another. In James chapter 5, verse 16. And so it's more appropriate, it's always appropriate for us to pray for each other. And it's certainly more appropriate to pray even for our enemies instead of harboring those negative thoughts about them and letting them harden our hearts. And the best thing about kindness is that it comes with a double blessing. The person who offers a kindness gets as much or more out of the deed as the recipient does at times. Proverbs tells us in 11:17, those who are kind benefit themselves. And so it even makes our own hearts feel good. When we're kind, it softens our hearts when we're kind, and helps us to have more of an attitude of gratitude when we demonstrate kindness. And so my challenge for today, and not just today, but for every day, is to make a conscious effort to be kind to everyone you meet, whether you're friends or strangers, whether you agree or disagree on different things. I would challenge each of us to make a conscious effort to just simply be kind to everybody that we meet. it will make them feel better, and it'll also make you and I feel better as well. Love you guys. Hope you have a great day today. Hope you have a blessed day today. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.
Resound with God's own heart. Oh, let the ancient words impart. Words of life, words of hope.